Greetings and welcome to yet another Fate history. I'll admit, I was a little reluctant to do this one, as I had little interest in Lancer as a character, and knew absolutely nothing about his source material. However, since he was the most requested by you guys in the comments, I felt the need to at least give him a try. Surprisingly, his backstory was quite fun to go over, and before embarking on this endeavor, I didn't even know Irish myths were a thing. So without further ado, on to the introduction. Lancer is one of the very first servants we meet in Fate's Day Night, in the middle of his iconic duel with Archer. Even though he does end up stabbing Shiro, he's generally a pretty nice guy, and helps out Shiro and Rin quite a bit in Unlimited Blade Works. He also has a similar role in Fate Hollow Ataraxia, and you'll often see him fishing and recounting days of old to passers-by. Lancer was never a particularly impactful or even memorable character in the series, but he does have his moments. He's that low-key bro who stabs you a couple of times, but you can always count on during hard times. We'll go into his personality in more detail later. Now, on to the origins. Cú Chulainn is a demigod, son of Lu, the Irish god of war. When he was a child, he got into a fight with the hound of a blacksmith called Chulainn, and ended up killing the hound. As redemption, he swore to take the hound's place as Chulainn's guard, until the hound's babies were of age, and thus was given the name Cú Chulainn, or literally Chulainn's hound. He later goes through a typical shonen training arc, proceeds to do a lot of heroic things such as stealing a princess, fighting an entire army single-handedly, and, well, you can watch the rest of his backstory over at Sarcastic Productions, a pretty great channel I found recently that's perfect material for history and myth nerds. I highly recommend checking them out. While Lancer's personality might not stand out, he stands true to his origins. In Fate's Day Night, he fights with fierceness, yet still manages to have fun. He honors every promise he makes, much like Cú Chulainn. Despite never achieving his goals of defeating his ultimate enemy or ending up with the girl he loved, Cú Chulainn died with no regrets. Similarly, Lancer never personally achieves much in Fate's Day Night, and was never even close to getting the Holy Grail in any of the three routes. Yet he only dies after giving a good fight, leaving no room for regret. As for backstory, again, we have a servant whose backstory is pretty much never mentioned in Fate's Day Night. And again, Fate Hollow Ataraxia comes for the rescue. They pretty much recount his entire backstory line for line with little to no variation, from his origin to his time with the King's Men, briefly going over his mandatory training arc, and all the way to his final battle. Not much else to say really. However, there are quite a few differences in regards to his powers. So let's go over to that section. One of the original Cú Chulainn's most iconic abilities is Riastrat, known as Battle Frenzy, where he turns into an unrecognizable monster that tends to attack friends as much as foes. In the visual novel, however, there's very little that matches this. Lancer's iconic weapon is Geabolga. You're supposed to throw it with your foot at the intended target, then thorns grow from the wound, in a very gross fashion. In Fate's Day Night, Lancer hurls the lance with his hand, but it does have the same effect, though we never quite see it in full action. It also has the additional effect of redirecting to its target after being hurled, even if the target blocks the strike initially. Alright, at this point I might as well just put the pictures side by side and let people judge for themselves. While the tales of Cú Chulainn vary significantly in describing his appearance, Typemoon didn't exactly care to follow any description. I can't complain too much though. He looks cool and unique, and it would frankly be kind of lame if he was just another blonde boy. So with all that said, I'll give Lancer a 4 out of 5 for backstory, 5 out of 5 for personality, 4 out of 5 for powers, and 2 out of 5 for appearance. Actually, you know what? Make that a 3 out of 5. He looks cool. Giving him an average score of 7.5 out of 10, and a recommendation to, well, at this point, it's kind of redundant. But Fate Hollow Ataraxia is the place to go. If you also watched Sarcastic Productions video I linked earlier, you should have a nice idea. That's all for me. May your swords stay sharp.